Let's go ahead and bring in Jason Nichols. He's a lecturer in the African American Studies Department at the University of Maryland, College Park. Jason, thanks so much for joining us. First, these protests that we're seeing, are you surprised by the momentum, by the endurance, and what sort of concrete actions do you think might come from them?
Well, I'm certainly not surprised by the endurance because of the fact that we know that white supremacy has endurance. White supremacy has been going on in this part of the world, in the Western Hemisphere, since 1492. So that's a lot of endurance, and we know that Black lives have been taken at the hands of the state over and over and over again. And so it's time that protests have equal endurance to what's been going on in terms of white supremacy and the taking of Black lives, whether they're people who are innocent or people who have issues. Either way, we need to see that Black lives have value in our society. Because Black people contribute to every element of our society, they need to be treated the same way. As far as concrete changes, I think that we're seeing some of those already. You know, Los Angeles has already started to reevaluate how they fund police and social services. That's not punitive against police. That's only saying that there may be ways to take away the burden from police and give people who are better qualified to deal with certain situations, like what you saw in Rochester with a man who was having a mental health situation, crisis, along with some of his drug issues. There is probably a better way to deal with it than to have law enforcement be the primary person or the primary people taking the lead in that situation. And so, yeah, I think that you're going to see some concrete changes, but like with white supremacy, as it's always been in this country, there will be a backlash. And that's coming from the highest office in the land right now, from the President of the United States.
Jason, following the death of George Floyd in police custody and the racial protests that followed, U.S. President Donald Trump tried to draw attention to so-called black-on-black violence. Do you think that's a problematic deflection, and if so, why?
I think it's very problematic. Number one, in our society, we never hear about white-on-white crime. It's only when there is crimes that are committed, violent crimes between people who live in the same communities, which is exactly how it happens. When there's a violent crime, generally the victim and the perpetrator live in the same community and are of the same background and socioeconomic background. So white people kill white people, unfortunately. Black people kill black people. Brown people kill brown people. That's the way things are in our society because it's a remnant of racial segregation and residential segregation. But when we talk about black on black crime, it takes all of that context away. You never hear about white on white crime. That's not even something that is a construction in our society. So if people were really concerned about this, we would talk about urban crime. We would talk about suburban crime. We would talk about how can we keep more Americans safe. But that's not what this is about. It's not about keeping people safe. It's about having a talking point that furthers the idea that Black lives have less value and a deflection from the responsibility of the state. Because it's one thing when a criminal harms someone else. That's criminal behavior. But when it comes from a state-sponsored entity, the fact that the state is deflecting responsibility is really troubling. And this is why you see so many people out on the streets, Rui.